Radio Rahim with Eddie Hearn in your second home, New York. It's been a bit of time. Well, you have to excuse the left. You have to excuse the left. This is quite the get up here.
It's unbelievable. It's like, I wear it like casual stuff a lot, but I've been wearing more of it because I can't be bothered to just keep wearing suits, and you run out of looks. How long have I been wearing a suit? 10 years. And I just thought, fuck it, and now everyone's saying I'm having a midlife crisis.
I would imagine that if you added a medallion and maybe just a real shiny diamond earring,
I'm not sure about that.
You're all New York now. Yeah. So speaking of which, the kind of slickness that it requires to pull a tracksuit off like this is something like what we are watching with Conor Benn and the WBC. I mean, I'm not being too cheeky about this, but I can't figure out how a fighter comes back with 2 positive tests and then is cleared by the WBC while the British Board of Control or Boxing has still not made a decision. You gotta help.
Firstly, go on. You finish what you're going to say.
Well, I mean, I'm not.
Yeah. Firstly,
I'm just unclear.
You that's like hearing of a crime without hearing the person's evidence, right? So we shouldn't judge until that comes out. Secondly, it has nothing to do with the British Boxing Board of Control. It has everything to do with the people that conducted the test and the people who reside over that test, WBC. So what we're doing is we are giving them the opportunity to hear the case and make a decision. From there, we'll probably go back to the British Boxing Board of Control. But it's kind of like what baffles me is people think that VADA and the WBC is oh, well, they're going down that route. They did the test. It's they're responsible for the ruling here. We're not going to them because it's a better idea for us. We're going because they conducted the test and it's their program. So they have to hear the case.
I guess what fans and those of us who are not scientists, but rely on these tests to tell us the evidence. Like you said, we have to wait for the evidence, but the evidence would be considered the second sample, right? What?
Yeah, but maybe you don't know about the second sample. Maybe there's information in the report regarding the second sample. You know nothing. A lot of people know nothing. I know a little bit more than you, but until all that news comes out, if Conor Benn is going to be cleared, do you understand there's a reason why he's going to be cleared? The WBC are in a difficult position. They're under pressure not to clear him. Do you know what I'm saying? Because people like you or the media are saying to them, how can you clear him? He's failed 2 tests. So if they do clear him, and I don't even know if they will, there has to be a reason for it.
Right. And I'm not saying that there isn't.
So you will find out that reason. But at the end of the day, I have no ruling over that. So you're asking me questions. The answer is I have no idea. It's not down to me whether they get cleared. It's down to the people that conducted the test and the people that rule over that program.
If he is innocent and this test is erroneous, I mean, that'd be great for Conor Benn, and he'd have a lot of "I told you so"s to go around.
Well, no one would really, but in this situation, Rahim, people have made up their mind already. Do you know what I mean? They could come out and say this was a complete farce, this whole process, this, and he's innocent. Oh, what a load of rubbish. Here we go. No one really cares. And I said to Conor Benn the other day, mate, you got to have the fuck you mentality now. Because this is a kid. He wants to be loved. He wants to be a hero. He wants to be, and he ain't going to be. Innocent, guilty, whatever. So you just got to get on with it now. You've got to take up with the criticism. Get on with your career, but this is very important, this process. And I'm being told, I've been told by the media that we'll get a decision today. I haven't been told that by Conor Benn or his lawyers. I haven't been on those calls to the WBC. I have no idea. But I am hearing a result is imminent.
If he's clear, like I said, it would be great for him, but wouldn't that make it catastrophic for those of us who depend on that test to let us know if that test can't be relied on, then, it's kind of a joke in boxing. It wasn't me. I don't know how it got in my system. The test is wrong. And it's almost always right. But if it's wrong in this case, then that throws the whole system of how we regard whether a guy is cheating or not.
Possibly. I think that in today's world, there are a lot of instances where things change scientifically, you know, in terms of and people keep saying to me, "Oh, it's down to contamination." The report that I have seen part of is it's not down to contamination, but there's many parts of this report. But what I'm saying is things do need to change, things do need to evolve. But if things have been done incorrectly as well, you know, we can't just, you know, as people who represent Conor Benn, you can't just accept a situation if you believe it's wrong and you believe you're innocent. So it's not, you know, all these questions, I'm not on the panel, right? I'm not going to be deciding whether he's innocent or not. So when the decision comes, don't ask me about it. Ask the people that have made the decision. Because it ain't me. Even though in this unbelievable world, I am apparently the WBC. I am Dazn. I am VADA. I'm in all these things, you know, and all it'll be is, oh, yeah, Eddie Hearn got Conor Benn off. It doesn't work. The world don't work like that. The WBC have a very difficult situation and decision here to make. On one hand, they've got the sport, they've got the media saying, no, don't let Conor Benn off. And on the other hand, they've got the facts. Mm-hmm. So deal with the facts and make your statement.
Could we end up in a situation where the WBC makes one ruling, and you say it doesn't have anything to do with the British board, but if they don't clear him to fight...
If Conor Benn is cleared by VADA and the WBC, there is nothing to investigate from the British Boxing Board of Control. There may not be a failed test. So how can you... You know, if that decision is reversed in that instance, there's nothing to investigate. And by the way, he doesn't have a British Boxing Board of Control licence. So it has no effect on Conor Benn's career at all. Now, I want him to fight in the UK. We're not looking to... You know, he can fight in America, he can fight in the Middle East, he can fight anywhere he wants. But I want him to fight in the UK. What is annoying me, Rahim, is that the British Boxing Board of Control, oh, we want this information, or the person that got the most blame in this situation away from Conor Benn is me. Right? When these tests were found, the British Boxing Board of Control found out exactly the same time as me. About 4 weeks before the fight was cancelled. Right? In the contractual position, the British Boxing Board of Control have to decide whether this fight is going to be sanctioned or not. So when this happens, we speak to the board and we say, fuck, over to you guys, you need to look into it, do what you need. Okay. 4 or 5 weeks later, they decide to cancel the fight. 3 days before the fight. When all the money's spent, right? And the people that it looks worse on is me. Oh, Eddie Hearn tried to get the fight to take place. No, we're waiting for a decision from the commission. Why did the commission take 5 weeks to make a decision? I don't know the answer for that. And look, they wanted to gather information. It was a difficult decision for them. But no one's asking them. It's just, oh, Eddie Hearn should have pulled the fight. How? Contractually. If the board sanctioned the fight, the only people that can cancel the fight is Chris Eubank Jr. and his team because of a failed test. And they didn't want to cancel the fight. So the board waited 5 weeks to cancel the fight. 3 days out from the fight.
You said that Conor Benn has to have a fuck you attitude now and just embrace being a villain. Are you willing to embrace being the villain promoter that is putting this guy forward for fights and saying he should fight even if...
What if he's cleared?
But I'm saying...
I mean, ultimately, if Conor Benn is not cleared, he will serve a ban. So when you say, am I willing to be the villain promoter? Am I willing to promote a fighter that has been cleared of charges? Yeah. I've put my balls on the line here saying this kid's innocent. I know him and I believe him. People may want to criticise me, but I can only tell you what I feel and what's in my heart. And I believe him.
Have you seen this evidence that you think sways the judgment?
Yeah, I have. And I've not read the whole 270 pages, but I know the foundations of it. But I believe him, Rahim. I do. Like you may, you would say that. I'm just, from my heart, I've sat with this kid 24 times. With his family, with his dad, with his trainer. I believe him. And if I didn't, do you think I would have gone through this shit? How easy it would have been for me to go, distance myself from this. I don't need this aggravation in my life. No, I've put my balls on the line and said, I think he's innocent. There's no value to, it's detrimental to me to stand by him in terms of aggravation for me. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
And I'm doing it. And he's very thankful, and I don't want his thanks. I'm doing it because I believe him. And everything that I've seen makes me believe him even more. So call it a promoter, call it a friend, call it whatever you want, standing by him. I'm not standing by him because he's my best friend, because he's not my best friend. He's my client and he's my mate. But I believe him. And I have to give you my opinion. I'm not willing to just betray him because it's more beneficial for me. And it would have been very easy for me to go, we're not happy with this. This needs to be looked into, blah, blah, blah. I've been asked a question and I've given you a straight answer. I believe him. And a lot of what I've seen makes me believe him even more. Right? So am I willing to be the villain? No, I'm willing to stand up for what I believe in my heart, and I'm willing to back someone that I believe in. And if he's cleared, I ain't no villain. Right? Because if I don't promote him, fucking guess what? Someone else will. Will they be the villain? Not really. It'll just be me.
One person who's clearly not ready to forgive Conor Benn yet is Chris Eubank Jr. A couple Saturdays ago.
But he was happy to fight him. And also he's happy to fight him for several million now. And we'll make that fight. Conor Benn would have beat him the first time, and he'll beat him this time. So whilst it may not be quite the same size, it ain't far off. And by the time it comes around with the bad blood, it's a monster fight.
How do you know he's happy to fight him now?
Because of course he is. Because he wants to get paid. He can talk about this and that. He wants to get paid. That's a massive fight. That's a massive payday. 160, no problem. People keep talking about, it's dangerous for Chris Eubank Jr. Conor Benn's coming up from 147. He's tiny compared to Chris Eubank. But what happened in the Liam Smith fight is the same as what would have happened in the Conor Benn fight.
Do you think actually what happened in the Liam Smith fight makes the Conor Benn fight more interesting? Even though people were interested in the fight.
I think Conor Benn's the favourite. And in the first fight, or the fight that didn't happen, he was the underdog. I thought he was the underdog, but I felt he could do it. But what I saw in the Liam Smith fight, I know he beats him.
Now, for Eubank's sake, he said that first knockdown is a result of an elbow. I know you've seen the fight. What do you make of that?
I think when you're in the line of fire and you're moving your head as vigorously as Eubank was, you're going to get hit by forearms and elbows. The elbow wasn't the fight, the incident that did the damage. The one that done the damage was the uppercut and the left hook. Probably didn't help, but it's boxing. What did you expect? I mean, guys throwing 30 punches and you're moving your head like that. Something like that's going to happen.
Now, let's say Ben is cleared, and Eubank will be ready to come back in one fight or another. Who do you think mentally has the most to overcome, with the hurdle with all the things that Ben has heard about himself, and then
yeah, I think what's happened to Conor is enough to break a man, and Chris Eubank's coming off the back of getting knocked out. So I think they're both going to have their demons going into that fight, but it's just got to happen. It's got to happen, whether that's in May or September or whatever. We need to see that fight.
Now, another fighter in your stable, and boy, you're juggling a lot of flaming swords these days. Anthony Joshua, who has been defeated previously, but come back stronger, proving that he can redeem himself against the same fighter. But again, we face the same circumstance, except for it's 2 losses now. And people are writing him off like they wrote him off the first time against Ruiz. Is he handling that better this time?
Yeah, I think, look, he's in America. I feel like he can live a different life there. Can be normal. Go to the cinema. Go for a coffee. I think he's enjoying his training. And I'm excited for his comeback. This is a very important moment in his career. This is the big push now to become a 3-time world heavyweight champion. I think he's still top 3 heavyweight in the world. But he's got to prove it. And he'll be back April 1st.
He certainly has to prove it, but he won't be able to prove it April 1st. How long do you think it requires for Joshua, not just mentally to be back to challenge at the level of, world-class fighters, world championship fighters, But also, if he has a new trainer, even a new country, there's an adjustment period. Like, this is elite level sports.
People don't want to give adjustment periods. Critics don't. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But on one hand, Joshua's finished. He's mentally ruined. But he'll knock Jermaine Franklin out in 3 rounds. You know, on one hand, Jermaine Franklin beat Dillian White by 3 rounds, but he's a terrible opponent for Anthony Joshua. Like, you can never win. So, of course he needs adjustment periods. Of course he needs time with a new trainer. But he's also in a good competitive fight against a good heavyweight. And this is going to be a lot of pressure on Anthony Joshua going into this fight. There's people that are going to be criticising, people that are going to say he's not the same fighter, people saying he's gun shy, people saying he's mentally weak. Like, this is just what you have to put up with at top level sport. Anthony Joshua remains one of the biggest draws in boxing. All the eyes of the world will be on the O2 Arena on April 1st to see what he has left. And I think people are going to be very surprised.
At this time, we saw the whole Tyson Fury-Joshua fight. Does it happen? Won't it happen? And we all know how that went. Wilder-Joshua, I would say probably it's still the biggest fight for both ponds. Yeah. Do you see him being called out while this adjustment process is happening, while his comeback is happening, for fights that it may be at this stage too early for him to take because he has a new trainer, because he's on the comeback? Or is it something that he needs to jump back into or be forgotten and written off completely?
Look, AJ's always up for the big fights, and sometimes to his detriment. He wanted to fight Fury in December, coming off the Usyk defeat. You know, he wants to fight Wilder. He wants to fight White. He wants to fight Fury again. But I want to get him active, and I want to get him full of confidence, and I want to get him firing. And, we will see what's going to happen when he returns.
Another return that we've been waiting for is Canelo. John Ryder's obviously a mandatory. We have the same kind of conversations all the time. People are not satisfied with the opponent. When it's a mandatory, you don't have a lot of wiggle room.
Canelo Alvarez, is he?
Right. And I'm not a guy who says the guy's got to be in tough every single time. Surely that is too much to ask of a fighter, especially of his caliber.
Can I just say that Canelo Alvarez has gone Billy Joe Saunders, Caleb Plant, Dmitry Bivol, Gennady Golovkin. It's his last 4 fights. I mean, I don't know what else you got to do. You know, he has a mandatory because he's the undisputed champion. He's coming off wrist surgery. He fights John Ryder, who's just beat Danny Jacobs, just beat Zach Parker. And this is the fight where Canelo wants to come back and then look to fight Dmitry Bivol after.
And that's what I'm getting at. Like, okay, John Ryder's a mandatory, comes off that fight, but to fight Bivol would require that we're going to have to wait at 175 pounds for an undisputed fight.
Maybe. I mean, look, I want to make Bivol Beterbiev. It's an unbelievable fight. Callum Smith is mandatory to Beterbiev. That's a priority for me to make sure he gets a chance to become a 2-division world champion. Canelo Alvarez wants to fight Dmitry Bivol, maybe at 168 even, for the undisputed. But Bivol Beterbiev is a great fight, so we'll see what happens.
Isn't even of these 3 fights you just talked about, Canelo at 68, Callum Smith, who deserves a shot, but against an undisputed would probably be a bigger fight for him. Isn't Bivol Beterbiev just the fight that needs to happen? And those other 2 fights could occur beyond that. But any hurdle to that now.
Maybe, but also, it's down to the fighters. You know, Bivol is going to make 2 times, maybe 3 times more to fight Canelo Alvarez than Beterbiev. So he has to decide what he wants to do. Beterbiev is about to take part in Ramadan in a month's time. He won't be ready till the summer. Maybe Bivol wants to fight again. Callum Smith, the WBC have banned, Russian fighters, I think, from fighting each other. And we're being told that he has to fight Callum Smith next. So there's a lot to overcome, Rahim. And we represent 3 fighters in that mix. Canelo Alvarez, Dmitry Bivol, and Callum Smith. And, we have a job to do. So we'll see how it ends up.
Is there another fight for Canelo other than Bivol?
Yeah, it's a good fight. I mean, see what happens with Benavidez and Plant. I mean, we're talking to Edgar Berlanga today. If he gets 2 world-class wins, That becomes a very big fight, Mexico against Puerto Rico. But I can just be honest with you. I know what's in Canelo's head. I want to fight Bivol. I want to, he lost to Bivol.
At 175.
But he'll fight him at 175. But Bivol wants belts. Bivol can make 68. Dimitri Bivol could fight Canelo Alvarez and then fight Beterbiev, back-to-back undisputed. Like, that's a hell of an achievement. So we'll see. We'll see what the madness brings.
One of the madnesses in boxing that everyone is furious about because it hasn't been brought, of course, is Spence Crawford, who appears to be, testing waters all over the place, Crawford, I mean. Where do you see him landing, if anywhere, and where are you in these sweepstakes?
I'm not in the sweepstake for Terence Crawford. We've not spoke to him, I'd like to see him on Dazn, which could be through Golden Boy. Would be great. I'm a bit bored of Spence Crawford now as a fight fan. I'd still love to see it, but because it's not even close. It's not next for either guy. So how long are you going to wait? So we'll see.
Now I can't not mention the fight that we're actually here to talk about. Amanda Serrano has done so much in the sport, and only now is it really enough light on women's boxing to appreciate how much time she's toiled and how much she has done to accomplish what she has. And in the same building that will be in Saturday night, or at least the greater building at Madison Square Garden, a lot of people thought she was denied her moment.
Not me, but it was a close fight.
Okay, close enough to be debatable. I realize.
Yeah, I think most people thought Taylor won the fight, but some people thought Serrano won the fight. It was a tremendous fight. We have a great fight on Saturday night, and we represent Cruz, and she's kind of being overlooked because everyone's talking about Taylor Serrano too. Mm-hmm. But let's see what happens on Saturday. If Serrano wins, expect to see Taylor Serrano or Taylor against Baumgardner in Ireland next in May.
That's what I was getting at. Is that an important fight for Taylor because she's walked away with the victory? She's not.
I just think it's an important fight for boxing. We saw Fight of the Year, Event of the Year, one of the greatest fights in the history of this great city, an amazing venue. We should see it again, and let's see if she comes through on Saturday.
Serrano's told me if she becomes undisputed, she intends to defend. Now, I don't know if she's just winding me up about that, but if she is serious, which she appeared to be in the interview, is it important enough for Katie then to meet her at her weight?
No. Katie's the undisputed champion at 35. She can't get much lower, maybe 32, 33. But, look, it's a massive fight, massive money fight, and it's the fight for both of them. But I think Amanda wants to distance herself from that fight until Saturday night is out of the way.
And Baumgardner, certainly had an explosive, chief support fight there in England.
Yeah, great fight, man.
Do you regard her as the same caliber at this stage in her career as a Serrano?
I think she's a tremendous fighter. She hasn't yet got the accomplishments as Amanda Serrano. But certainly if we can't make the Serrano fight, we'll be looking to make Taylor Baumgardner, two undisputed champions, 130 and 135. Great fight.
You as a promoter, we for years talked about England versus America, who's the hub of boxing. Now that we sit in New York, we really haven't had the Matchroom campaign in the way I think you had envisioned it. Are we on the cusp of another American push for Matchroom?
We say that. I mean, last year, what were the two biggest events in American boxing? Taylor Serrano and Canelo Triple G. I did both of them. There's this massive delusion, right? And also I did Canelo Bivol. There's this massive delusion about, Eddie Hearn's not really doing big fights. Who the fuck's doing big fights? I did the biggest fights here last year. I mean, people tend to forget that. The greatest fight in the history of Madison Square Garden, I promoted last April. The biggest fight of the year, Canelo Triple G3, I promoted in Las Vegas. One of the biggest upsets of the year, I promoted Canelo against Bivol in May. Where's these other big fights that all these other people have been doing? I haven't seen them.
Yeah, that's you make a strong case there, Eddie.
It's just fact, mate. It's just fact. People want to hate on it, but people also it's cool.
It is cool.
We're still standing, mate.
And I gotta say, you're cool.
Thank you.
Like, you know,
I'm trying.
you're working on it, and it is working. So we'll see yet another big card, and a lot has happened in women's boxing. You've been right there promoting it, and Saturday night at the Garden, once again, we'll see Amanda Serrano, and hopefully we'll see Katie Taylor and Serrano.
She'll be there anyway. She'll be there.
But Katie will be there.
She'll be there, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. We shall see.
Are we going to have some antics on the apron?
We'll see. It's not really her style, but we'll see.
We will see. Saturday night, Radio Rahim with Eddie Hearn.